Big thanks to this video sponsor, Dollar Shave Club. Head on over to dollarshaveclub.com/Gaijin to get an executive razor with a bottle of Dr. Carver's shave butter for just $5 and free shipping. Hey everyone, Gaijin
and Goombah here.
And so not that long ago I asked you guys what sort of animated shows you want me to cover for a future video, and the answer was almost unanimous. Samurai Jack. I mean, what can you say that hasn't already been said? Samurai Jack is absolutely amazing. The story, while simple and episodic, was exceptionally well written, giving us not only an action-packed epic, but deep, sometimes dark arcs into character development. But it wasn't completely without comedy. And speaking of the characters, no matter how big or small, all of them were memorable. Each design, voice, and personality was more distinct than those that came before them. Case in point, in the last episode at the time of writing this script, we were reintroduced to one of the earliest characters introduced in the series, the Woolies. And even though they're disguised and have been absent from the story for years, they were instantly recognizable.
And geez, have you seen this art style? The color theory, the harsh, jagged edges and points. There's a reason Genndy Tartakovsky is an animation legend. What he does visually with atmosphere and design is something nigh impossible to replicate. Personally, it was a show that defined my childhood, an action-packed series that showed me that you can tell an amazing story with very few words. Not to mention it's been getting its own fair share of memes lately.
So we sat down and pondered, what could we talk about? I mean, there was a lot to consider. There's the beautiful, globally inclusive introduction of the series where we see Jack literally traveling the world, training under different teachers. China, Arabia, Central Africa, Egypt, Greece, England, Northern Europe, Russia, Mongolia, Tibet. It was absolutely astonishing seeing how many cultures were represented in just the first episode.
But then there's the individual characters themselves. I mean, you could go so far as to say that Aku, real original name by the way, was little more than a walking, talking Hanya mask. Fitting considering the mask was used to personify obsessive, jealous characters in no drama, and Aku is nothing if not obsessive and dramatic.
But despite all these ideas we were cobbling together, there was just one thing that we couldn't escape.
The samurai.
Samurai Jack.
Samurai Jack.
Samurai Jack!
Jack isn't a samurai. Yes, we all see you angrily sitting in your chairs ready to pounce on us in the comment section. But by saying Jack isn't a samurai by no means makes him less of a hero or less of a character. In fact, it actually makes him a better character than if he was.
Exactly. We in the West have this romanticized concept of what a samurai is. I mean, when you hear the word samurai, the first things a lot of people think about is righteousness and honor.
We'll never defeat the side of righteousness.
Well, bad news guys, because real samurai were neither of those things. Samurai had one job in life, serving a master. And the honor that the samurai had was their loyalty to their master. Jack, on the other hand, has no master. I mean, he has a quest, but samurai don't really quest. They simply do what their master tells them to do, whether it means to fight and kill for their lord, or die because their lord ordered them to. The level of devotion that true samurai had to their lords was immeasurably deep, to the point that they would kill their own family to retain their trust and so-called honor. And yeah, this actually did happen, and it was done by one of Japan's most respectable heroes of Bushido, Ieyasu Tokugawa. In 1579, Ieyasu's wife and eldest son Matsudaira Nobuyasu were accused of working with one of their master Nobunaga's greatest enemies at the time, the Takeda clan. The conspiracy was that Tokugawa's family was tipping off the Takeda in hopes of assassinating Nobunaga. And in a show of good faith that Tokugawa was loyal to his lord, he had his wife executed and his son commit seppuku. Could you imagine how boring of a character Samurai Jack would be if he were actually a samurai? At best, we'd spend 20 minutes watching Jack simply doing what he was told by someone else, and at worst, we'd probably spend the majority of the series watching Jack wrestle with himself whether or not he could serve his lord. We certainly wouldn't be seeing much in the way of the beautiful landscape or insanely creative characters that made the series so remarkable.
But that's not the only thing about Jack that prevents him from being a true samurai. In Season 5, we discover that Jack has had a lifelong inability and even fear about killing another human being. Whether it be because of childhood trauma or his own moral code, Jack up until now has completely lacked the one thing a samurai was supposed to be able to do.
The samurai's blade was at the whim of his or her master, whether it be daimyo landowner, battlefield general, or even the emperor himself. the samurai was an instrument of their master's will through combat and the death of their enemies. And sadly, all too often, their master's will wasn't one of high moral code. I mean, think about this. During his campaign to unify Japan, Oda Nobunaga told his samurai warriors to commit genocide against every man, woman, and child, not only of the families of Iga in 1581, but the towns and villages that bordered the Buddhist temple of Indakuji in 1571. What kind of honor is it to cut down women and children? What kind of honor is it to commit arson against an entire village? But this is what samurai, by their definition, were expected to do. Follow their lords without question lest they forfeit their lives. And that's exactly what Jack couldn't do. Kill himself out of honor or kill others in the name of it.
But while Jack is no samurai, he is by definition a Ronin, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Jack being a Ronin actually makes him a more compelling and interesting character. After all, some of the best stories that ever came out of Japan centered around Ronin.
While the term Ronin, meaning wave person, colloquially refers to a masterless samurai, there's far more to their existence than simply not having a master. Ronin was an idiom to describe someone who was without a home and without a purpose. Someone who wandered not because they could, but because they didn't have any other choice. They would be lucky to find work as a teacher at a dojo, let alone working at all, which is why so many of them became thieves and bandits. They were shunned from society as humans lacking purpose. This is not only what Jack does, but the reason why he does it. Throughout the entirety of the series, Jack has had no home, and in Season 5, he doesn't even have a purpose. I mean, in the beginning, his goal was to return to the past and save his home from destruction, wandering the land trying to find any leads, but we find out in Season 5 that since there aren't any more time travel options left for Jack, he's wandering even more aimlessly from one location to the next. I mean, geez, in Season 5, the concept of Jack being Ronin was pretty much bashed into our heads with the lone wolf motif that plays through the majority of Episode 3.
And that's not the only thing in Season 5 that cements Jack as a Ronin. Having failed his quest to return to the past in Season 5, Jack has spent the last 50 years lamenting his failures as they haunt him in everything he does, including being in the middle of combat. His failures haunt him so terribly that over several points in the first few episodes of Season 5, Jack contemplates suicide. Not just for a release of his own physical suffering, but an honorable end to make up for his failures.
And the funny thing is that issue was finally addressed in a previous episode when we discovered who the Green Samurai was, which turned out to be what little of his Bushido code Jack had left. After each failure and flare of doubt, it showed up time and time again only for Jack to deny it. But after what he believed to be the death of dozens of children at his own hands, Jack finally gave in and was about to commit seppuku.
Hey, since we keep throwing that word around so much, it might be good to define it.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. Okay, seppuku. A lot of people have it in their heads that it's simply a samurai gutting themselves alone out of shame, when in reality it is far more than that. It was a process. Before any cutting took place, the samurai would compose a final death poem, often something reflecting their own lives or even upon their failures. Afterward, they would take 2 ceremonial gulps of sake. 1 gulp was considered hesitation, and 3 was considered rushing to one's death. Next, a most trusted friend, mentor, or colleague would draw their sword and stand behind, because it was their job to take the head of the one committing seppuku in 1 slash. If it took more than 1, not only would the colleague lose their honor for eternity, but would doom the one that they were aiding. Finally, the samurai would draw their wakizashi, the very symbol of their honor, and cut their belly from left to right. This was done because it was believed that the spirit or soul resides in the stomach, so this action was to liberate your spirit. Before the samurai would begin to show pain though, their colleague would take their head, and thus, the sacred ceremony of seppuku was completed. And that was exactly what Jack was about to do. It's very likely that not only the green ghostly samurai that haunted him, but the other samurai that appeared to bear witness to the event at the Japanese graveyard were his ancestors demanding he retain his honor, with one of them standing behind him, ready to take his head when the time was appropriate. But after hearing from Ashi about what he accomplished and how he touched entire races and peoples with his actions, Jack denied himself and his ancestors seppuku. And that's the thing, if Jack were a true samurai, he would have ended his life without hesitation. He failed his quest and he failed his home. By Bushido code, Jack should have killed himself decades ago. But he kept on fighting despite his failures. See, this is what makes these Ronin stories so cool. They're tales of men and women who had to learn how to come to grips with their failures. Whether their master died, dismissed them, or they simply fled their roles as samurai for a higher morality reason, these individuals are the stuff of legends because they were human enough to rise above failure and find something worth fighting for. Case in point, just look at the classic known as The Seven Samurai, a 1954 film created by the great Akira Kurosawa about a village of farmers who hired 7 Ronin to take out a group of organized bandits who terrorized their home. There was nothing in it for the Ronin save maybe a few bales of rice, and in a few points of the film, the villagers seemed to turn their backs on the 7. But despite the lack of reward, less than warm reception, and near hopeless objective, and half of them paying the ultimate price for their service, the 7 Ronin protected the village as they believed it was the right thing to do.
Well, that begs the question, what about those who would say that Jack does have a master? His people, his home, even the entire world that Aku flung into chaos and terror. Would it not be fair to say that Jack's lord is the people he's trying to protect?
Oh, I can totally see and respect that point of view. I mean, Jack being a samurai who serves the people who have been subjugated by Aku, but that really wasn't his quest, was it? It was more a series of side quests he undertook in the process of seeking revenge against Aku and getting back in time. To me, this actually makes him even more of a Ronin, considering there's a famous historical tale of Ronin getting revenge. 47 Ronin to be specific. The story begins with a band of masterless samurai planning the revenge of their master Asano Naganori. See, their master was detained for assaulting another official, Kira Yoshinaka of Kozuke province, and in the end, Naganori was forced to commit seppuku, leaving 300 of his samurai masterless. But of those 300, 47 secretly swore that they would get revenge on Kira for the dishonor that was brought upon their master. Over the course of a year, they took the guise of monks and tradesmen, working their way closer and closer to Kira's home in Edo. And in 1703, they struck Kira's mansion, finally avenging their master. Of course, this meant they themselves would have to commit seppuku for the crime of murder, but it just goes to show just how far some Ronin were willing to go to right the wrongs done to them.
I guess in a way, Jack could be seen the exact same way. A Ronin who lost what he was trying to protect and serve, doing everything he could do to right the wrong done to him.
Exactly. Look, I may think Jack isn't a true samurai, but the fact that he isn't is what makes him such a great character and what makes his story truly epic. By being Ronin, we watch his character evolve and change. We see the gambit of emotions, struggles, wins, losses, feeling his pain as he wanders the land trying to right the wrong done to him. And in his travels, we meet some of the most unique characters and some of the most beautifully animated landscapes I have ever seen. And I cannot wait to see what happens in Season 5 with Jack and Ashi. This is the first time we've seen a potential long-term companion, and there's no telling where the story can go with that. But you know, there's just one thing I didn't like about the new Samurai Jack.
He just grew that stupid beard.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't think the bearded look worked well for him.
You got your sword. And a shave and a haircut.
But you don't need the combined powers of Odin, Ra, and Shiva to get a clean shave. For only a few dollars a month, you can get an amazing clean cut through Dollar Shave Club. Right now, they're doing a great promotion where not only can you get a slick new razor and a month of shaves, but also a hefty bottle of Dr. Carver shave butter, altogether a $15 value for just $5. A full month's worth of top-notch shaves for just $5. After that, it's only a few dollars a month for great razors to continuously be sent to your front door.
Both of us try to keep our immaculate beards in check, so this service was actually quite cool for us to try for ourselves. No more overpriced packaging or trash can razors to fight with.
So go show them some love, guys. Head on over to dollarshaveclub.com/Gaijin or click the link in the description for your own executive razor and Dr. Carver shave butter for just $5. By signing up, you're not only getting great razors and the best bottle of shave butter I've ever had, but you're also supporting this channel in some really big ways. But thanks for watching, everyone. There's still so much I could talk about with this show, and if you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments below. But if you're hungry for more videos, check those annotations and links in the description to see just how much about the world we can learn from our favorite shows and games. And if you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of my newest cultural videos. But until next time, everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.